Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ed Flick, and I'm the Director of the Office of Resilience and Emergency Management for the Oregon Department of Human Services. The department has been working on growing the ability to respond to the needs of Oregonians impacted by disaster. We're going to demonstrate what mass care capabilities could look like following a major disaster. We're going to focus on the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake because it's clearly the most consequential of all the hazards that Oregon faces. But by being ready for Cascadia, we can be ready for literally anything else. So what is the earthquake going to bring? The State Resilience Officer, in partnership with the Department of Homeland Security and a lot of support from locals, I was a local when we did it, studied the effects of Cascadia on transportation systems recently and let us know in greater detail. There's going to create islands. There's going to be places that, there's an earthquake, there's tsunami, soil liquefaction. What does that mean? You know, when you're a kid at the beach and you tapped your foot on the beach and before you know it, it wasn't sand, it was water. Well, that's going to happen and it's going to disrupt roadways and transportation and communications. We're going to see water systems, wastewater systems, and power systems impacted. And we're going to have islands. Those are the realities we face. That's what we have to prepare for. You're going to go on a tour in a few minutes of the shelters that you see set up out on the airfield. You're going to learn about what happens in each one of them. And when you do so, I ask you to put yourself in the place of a survivor that's been evacuated and is moving through really what could be the first formal assistance that they receive. And you're going to learn about what's happening in the tent and why each step is so important to the well-being of the survivor. The idea we're testing is the ability to advance deploy this equipment throughout the state with a special emphasis on our coastal communities and also at the airfields that will be essential to help people be moved from the coast to places where they can be sheltered. EAPs are quick deployable emergency shelter and incident command locations. They're comprised of these shelters and the associated equipment. And by design, the set out there can support 80 people for about 14 days. Now, this is not intended to be a place that people will stay long. The whole idea here, if you look across that airfield, there's a bunch of helicopters. Helicopters will be moving people from the coast after Cascadia to the valley. At some point, they will then be transitioned into fixed-wing aircraft that will move them further and into places of further safety. The location here is really about how do you receive those folks, understand their immediate needs, and organize them for movement.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the registration tent. As people leave the affected area and they arrive at an EAP, an evacuation assembly point like this is likely the first place they would go, the registration tent. This might be the first face that they see. When they show up, they may not know, is my house still there? Is my family safe? Are my neighbors safe? Are my pets okay? They'll have a lot of questions, They've just gone through a very traumatic experience. So this is a place where they could initially come, and even if they aren't able to make some of those decisions about what do I need right now, or what do I need in a day, what do I need in 2 days, because they're so focused on right now, well, we can help start assess some of those needs. So registration is just collecting some basic information about people, their name, contact information. Do they have any immediate needs? Do they have any access and functional needs? Maybe they lost durable medical equipment in the event. We're going to capture some basic information. Do they need food? Do they need shelter? Do they need water? Do they have a service animal? Did they lose durable medical equipment? Do they speak a language that is not commonly spoken in the area? And do we need to arrange for interpreters, and translators. We're going to be able to gather that information here. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming out today. Really appreciate your time. You are now in the mess hall, our mess tent. This is a multi-use facility. This isn't just for dining. This is also going to be the social hub during a temporary evacuation location. So this becomes kind of the lifeblood, a location where folks could come to gather. This would also be where briefings are done. So I'll bring your attention over here to my left-hand side. You're going to see kind of a bulletin board, essentially, for folks to post items and for notices to go up. This is where briefings would occur on a daily basis. This is also a location where folks can come to relax and unwind. As you can imagine, the stressors of the day for individuals in a situation like this, they need time to have children come and play games, have some comfort, relax, have a meal, and socialize in a location, because in other locations that's not really amenable. So this becomes the social event, and much as you can imagine, all of the meals being provided here. On the tables that you have behind you, exceptionally important items when people come in. Hydration is going to be essential and key. The other element is to provide quality nutrition. We have in the ability through the surge kits, we can feed a total number of 8 individuals over a 2-week period of time, and any mathematical combination thereof. And those are MREs, meals ready to eat, which you can imagine individuals coming in after that sense of shock, hunger is going to set in, and people are going to be pretty ravenous. They want to supply that energy for themselves, and those each have 3,000 calories, very high calorie count, right? And that's intentional. But of course, the whole goal is that people would be moving on in the pipeline, right? They would not be just consuming MREs. If they're going to remain in this location for any length of time, we'd be bringing in mobile kitchens, and we've established a very extensive number of contracts with feeding vendors across the state. We've also worked very diligently to provide a number of feeding hubs that have canned foods and other non-perishable items in locations around the state. So those food supply chains, which will be disrupted, we have the capacity to bring food in from those locations across the state, right? So we can sustain that, so individuals don't have to just be eating MREs constantly.
Hi everyone, today I'm going to be showing you and talking to you a little about the 6-stall shower system. So you'll see outside here you have 2 big bladders. You have a black bladder, which is your non-potable or dirty water, and you have a 500-gallon clean water or potable that you would fill up with your clean water. So essentially, once this is filled, it goes from that hose over here to this propane water heater, which then heats the water back inside to the 6 stalls, which each stall has its own shower head. What happens to that water? There's a decon flooring in there and a big black berm you can see around the shelter. That water goes in that berm, and we have a sub pump on each side that sucks up the water and goes into the black hosing, back through the manifold, into the dirty water, and that's where it lives. If you guys want to go inside, you can actually take a look inside the 6-stall shower. So inside you can see here they're split up into 3 bays. There's a divider curtain that splits the 2. So you can have families on one side, non-families on one side, or females and males, whatever your preference is. The cool thing about it, it's unique to how you want to set it up. And this yellow decon flooring, and the yellow decon flooring, what that allows you to do is after the individual is done taking a shower, you can actually dry off on this, wipe down, and the water goes through here and goes to the berm, and then the sub pump sucks it up and puts it in the non-potable water bladder.
So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this medical tent and what types of things go on in a medical tent at a shelter. At a typical shelter, the clinic that you're going to have at a typical shelter is going to be what I affectionately call cough drops and Band-Aids primarily, right? What I hope to impart to you today is in a post-Cascadia environment, this tent could be a lot more important than just cough drops and Band-Aids. And so I'm going to kind of walk you through why that is. This is going to become a patient staging location. And a lot of really important decisions are going to be made. Mass care triage is going to happen here. And the prioritization for patient movement is going to be communicated to the command post and up to the state so that they can make decisions about getting resources out here to help evacuate injured survivors. Now, the main thing that I want to impart to you today is who's going to be in this tent. Now, the nation has a volunteer network called the Medical Reserve Corps. And Medical Reserve Corps, they include everyone from just your do-gooder who wants to help out, who's maybe good on communications or does logistics, all the way up to licensed and practicing surgeons, right? And in the state of Oregon, we organize our Medical Reserve Corps in a database called ServOrg. And these Medical Reserve Corps are going to be the key to self-organization after an event like this. They're going to descend on an evacuation assembly point like this. They're going to bring their medical go bags, which might be just supplies as simple as these over here. And when they arrive, they're going to be doing all sorts of things. They can do emergency shelter operations like we're seeing here, mental and behavioral health, which is really important. They can do facility surge support. So if hospitals are still standing, they can go help. They can do emergency operations and communications. They can do search and rescue. And most importantly, this last one down here, they can do patient movement support. And that's going to be critical because in the days and maybe even weeks after CSD, federal disaster medical teams are not going to be able to get here as quickly as we think they will. And so the decisions that are being made in this tent are going to save Oregonian lives. Well, I appreciate you stopping by the medical tent. We really do have a big problem when it comes to the medical infrastructure in Oregon, but we do have the capability to self-organize and to prepare. So I'm really excited that I have this opportunity today to talk to you about that.
Hello everyone, my name is Drew Oslavar. I'm the head of training at Deployed Logics, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the climate control system that we have here. This particular unit that's hooked up to our medical tent is quite a powerful unit. It is able to supply 42,000 BTUs per hour of both heating and cooling. As we all know, the climate in Oregon can be rainy and cold in the morning and hot in the evening. So the ability to keep a medical tent cool or warm for any environment. An earthquake can happen at any time of year. There's no earthquake season. So being able to keep your medical facilities at a proper temperature to care for patients is imperative. This is also coupled with an insulation liner built into the shelter system, as well as what's called an air plenum, that kind of white structure that you saw with the holes in it. That allows the air to move from the HVAC efficiently out and spread out, sort of like you're ducting in your home. But the nice thing about this unit is it's extremely portable. It can be moved easily from location to location, and it's powered by a small generator. This particular generator is dual fuel. It can be powered by propane or gasoline. So in order to keep a structure cool or warm, quite a small package. You may have seen them all around the place, but we also have what's called our Atlas anchors. These are a patented system that allows you to anchor your shelter on any type of ground. So at this nice tarmac that we have here, we're not able to spike into it. So what these do is they allow us to fill them with water, sand, gravel, whatever you have on hand in order to keep your shelter secure and the people inside of them safe.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Corey Jones. I'm the Regional Emergency Coordinator. Taking an opportunity to look at this tent here. This is a tent that we're calling the Isolation and Quarantine Shelter that can be used for COVID positive patients to get away from the local populace. But also think of it as like your family, right? Like Ed spoke to earlier. It's an opportunity for smaller families to get away from, the local group, to be able to isolate away. Families with pets, that's a big thing during disasters that are often not thought about. That you'd be surprised how many families have pets, just like myself, 2 cats, 2 dogs, right? So this tent here is just set up for a piece to be able to show you. It's 4 quads, rooms that are broken out, but basically it's a great opportunity to be able to provide that isolation away. And if it is COVID patients or COVID people, it would be separated from the rest of the tents in another location, but it's a great opportunity.
The other thing to notice on this particular tent is if you notice, it looks different than some of the other tents. That white, the white insert is insulation, so that would keep it warmer in the winter.
All right, my name is Micah. I'm a regional emergency coordinator for Oregon Department of Human Services, Office of Resilience and Emergency Management. And what we're showing here is our dormitories. This is where you're going to be staying for the duration of this. Remember, this is just a stop on the journey. This is not designed to be a long-term housing solution. But I want you to really think about, what do you need? What are some of your basic life needs during this that 14 days. Well, it's staged to move to the next location. It's going to look very different if your grandma, your 95-year-old grandma, is with you when that event happens, or if you're on vacation. There is a refrigerator. If you're insulin dependent, if medications, there is methods for warming water. Okay, if you need formula for babies. Okay, take a look at these. Let us know. But picture yourself, okay? Everybody knows, even the most prepared person may need to utilize this. Think about it, walk through it, let us know. But right here, all the way down, here's your temporary home while we move along in the recovery process. With that, we'd invite you to walk on through, and from here we'll go to command and control next.
Hey, welcome to the other side of the curtain. This is where the operations happen. As you can see back here, you'll see that there's sleeping quarters for those that are working in the operations center, or what we call the command tent. This is the command tent, okay? Just kind of give you a little bit of an orientation to this tent. Of course, we have the sleeping quarters there. And then to my left, your right, we have the communications tent. And then to my right, your left, we have basically where all of our section chiefs would actually operate. That's logistics, plans. We also have situation unit leader and so forth. So very operationally and getting all the information together so that we can actually run our plan and to plan out. Important to know is this center floor right here would normally be used for operational planning as well. But for this, for our purposes today, we do not have a center portion right here. Right behind me, we have the actual operations. Now that's one of the most important things here. As we go through the registration, we actually collect some of those unmet need requests already. As you saw across the actual evacuation assembly point, a lot of different information is coming in. This is the hub where that information comes so that we can actually identify and then resource unmet needs. In the event that they cannot get that information or get that unmet need solved here locally, they would need to actually reach out to county in order to actually see if they can do that and help them out. It's very important to have a self-sustaining means of communication. And that's really the backbone here. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn some time over to Ruben.
Thanks, Chad. Hello, everyone. My name is Ruben Silva, and I'm the communications integrator. So with that, our team has been developing what's called a communicational PACE plan. PACE stands for Primary, Alternate, Contingency, and Emergency Means of Communication. So it's a layered system, but a very tried and true method across the nation, quite honestly, is the amateur radio community. So they've been helping state agencies, right, for quite some time now. There's various case studies that you can look up and you can find. So to my left here, what we're conducting is a small communicational exercise right now. Right now, I have the Marion County Aries team. Right now, we're conducting a communicational exercise with the Emergency Volunteer Corps in Hamlin Bay, in Manzanita, through radio communications only. Right, so an antenna, a radio, and a computer. That's all we need. So right now, EVCMV is communicating with us, and we're forwarding that information to Deschutes County on the other side of the mountains there, all through radio traffic, which is going to be real critical post-disaster, right? So with that being said, some of the objectives as we look towards the future is to work with these volunteer groups in these various counties all across the state and develop those relationships now so that post-disaster, right, we can get back online and just conduct operations and provide those critical mass care resources to those who are going to need it the most.
The training's really important. For any of these capabilities that we see here today, the training's going to have to be part of that equation. And so that's one of the big objectives that we have, is to not only get the capabilities, but to train it so that it is effective day one of an incident. And keeping in mind, it's not just Cascadia. We have a lot of other things that happen in the state of Oregon that we could use these type of facilities for. So it's very important that we go ahead and make sure that we have the right teams trained, local stakeholders, and make sure that they're coordinated so that we know what we're doing, but they know what they're doing when the time comes. It's very important that.